This is like a
Woo! You are looking live. It's the GovCast. Scott Leese and look, Stevie.
Hey, I'm going.
Oh, Steve's out in Texas. 2/3 of us in Texas now.
I got to get to Texas.
Not happening.
You got the tree set up? Man, it's nice.
Not happening in Texas. Woo! All the hots are in Texas. That's what it's about.
Wait, I thought I was a guest. What am I doing on this screen? Don't I get dropped too? Like I go backstage again?
What's that?
Don't I go backstage again?
No, you are hosting today. Stevie B is back. He's hosting. Is that your new crib?
See my house. Moving today. I'm getting keys to my new place. So really excited.
Those of you who follow the show, Stevie B has moved on in jobs. He's moved on in his house. Oh, Lord.
New life. Put
You wanna
myself
introduce
out of the comfort zone.
What would be your intro today, Steve? Go ahead, throw it out there.
The intro?
Yeah, what would be your intro?
Jack, I say it's a pleasure that you actually had me back on this. I know you were obligated when you were my boss to, bring the dean on, but just to bring me on as an outsider now, I feel really blessed to be here and look forward to sharing with our millions of viewers, right? Hopefully we haven't dropped from the top million. I don't know. What's the status?
No, definitely still in the top, man. Just heading up, heading up and to the right. Next place we go. Steve, tell the millions and millions, what are you doing these days?
So we always talked about selling to the government, and that's what I'm doing. So I work for a new company, actually new to me. It's been around for almost 30 years. The company is called Accela, ACCELA. And I recently joined their team, which helps government agencies with their permitting process. It's a software as a solution, that SaaS world. So still in there, Jack. And it's been great, smiling and dialing, reaching out and trying to help as many agencies as I can.
There you go. We're going to practice all the things we said work. Steve's going to keep reporting back and see if it really works. Right, Steve?
Oh, it's amazing. Like I have so much to share with you. We are implementing stuff from GSU. It's killing it. So I don't know when to get into it, but I know these are the brief introductions. So Mia says hello as well.
I was going to say, you brought Mia back. It's like a reunion today.
She loves just hanging out with me all day, just working by my side. I've even moved the bed, trying to get all the stuff wrapped up, but that's our home for now.
Andrea, she's out trying to wrap up the month, so she bailed. Steven's in. This background right here, I am in the great state of Texas, just north of the city of Houston. So still homeless, still working on a homing setup. So I'm just packed up in a pod. All my life is in a pod in some truck driving across I-10.
At least you got a tree set up. I'm pretty impressed by the
this
background.
This is my daughter-in-law's. This is my daughter-in-law's house. So I knew this right here.
Oh.
Nope,
Okay.
I'm homeless right now. So this
Gotcha.
would be all I got. So, but Steve, new house, new job. You all right?
Yeah, feeling good. Just get through these next couple of weeks, then traveling. Going back to Pennsylvania, see family for the holidays, and then coming back, and then have actually a wedding out in California. So I don't know. I think Scott was from California or lived in California, but I'll be out in San Diego. It's my first time going out there. Have a wedding New Year's Eve, so I'm going to be checking that area out.
Well, we'll have to see. So you mentioned, look, we're so blessed today to have Scott Leese on the show. So I bring him in. I don't want to keep him backstage. CEO, founder of Scott Leese Consulting, 8,000 other things, 6 times sales leader, 3 times founder, 2 times offer. Amazing. Obviously, Surf and Sales Summit, which we'll talk about. Scott Leese, welcome to the show. Had to blackmail him in.
What's up, guys? Good to be back.
How
It's our annual Christmas show.
Great to see you. I told him as soon as I saw that Jim Kelly thing, like we just did a little touch on how bad the Ravens and the Bills have been lately. And so Eagles too. So we're all suffering NFL-wise. Yeah. You want to get that off your chest a little therapeutic? Buffalo Bill. Are they coming back?
I'm in a glass cage of emotion over here. So I'm not sure we can go too deep into the football conversation. It's just all very, very painful. Oh,
it's so bad. I said before, the NFL is it's like 1 week you're like, oh, this team's going to the Super Bowl, and the next week they lose. Like when the Ravens lost to the Dolphins the other night, you're just like, who is this team? And then when the Bills couldn't score against the Jags, you're like, what is going on? The NFL, the people in Vegas have a lot of pull. They are doing some stuff.
Speaking about football, I think last time, Scott, we were on the show together. I don't know if it was brought up before I hopped on backstage, but did you ever get the cereal, like the Bills cereal?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I got two.
Okay.
They delivered 2 boxes. My boys have one in their bedrooms, each of them. Unopened, preserved.
Oh, I thought one got eaten and one got saved. Oh
no. Collector's items. They're both unopened. Yeah.
I was wondering how it tasted, but I get.
You got to get Josh Allen to sign one of those suckers and put it in a plastic bin.
Well, maybe when he's playing better, I'll go watch and get a signature. Until then, they'll just keep the cereal boxes on the shelf for now.
Oh, so true. So I love maybe for the 2 people in the whole world that don't know who you are, can you just give folks a little drive-by of your amazing background, what you're doing, and then we'll dive into some surf and sales and some of the other things you're doing.
Yeah. So I've been a VP of sales a number of times. Spent the better part of 20 years building and scaling SaaS sales organizations all across the country. Started doing some consulting on the side and eventually went full-time and run my own sales consulting and advisory firm. I've written 3 books. I released 2 of them in 2021. First book is kind of about being a sales rep. Second book is how to go to a sales manager. And the last book is how to be a VP of sales. So it's a little bit of a trilogy, if you will. I started a company a couple of years ago called Surf and Sales. It's an event business and a podcast. Take 20 people at a time down to Costa Rica and do a micro sales and leadership conference and teach people how to surf and eat good food and just kind of deep experiential networking. And started another company in March of 2020 called Thursday Night Sales. It's the world's largest and longest running virtual sales happy hour. We've had over 20,000 people come to these happy hours on Thursday night, if you can believe that. My co-host Amy Volas and I run that show. We had a live event in Las Vegas this year in October, and our next live event is in April in Florida. And Surf and Sales events in 2022 are almost sold out. The May event in 2022 for Surf and Sales is sold out. There's a couple events in November that are almost sold out. I got a bunch of other things going on, Jack and Steve, but I'll
good.
Talk to me about Florida, because
where's the Florida Thursday Night Sales event?
In Sandestin is where it's going to be. It's going to be mid-April on the coast, anticipating probably about 125 people or so for the Thursday Night Sales conference. It'll be probably 3 nights or so, 4 days-ish, kind of a long weekend type event. Bunch of different speakers, including Amy and myself, and a lot of fun, kind of a big party on the beach a little bit. And
I saw you looking it up, Steve. Where is it, Steve? Where is it?
I just looked up Destin, Florida.
Is it on the
Did you
Gulf
say
it's
Sandestin?
near. It's near there. It's near there.
Okay, this is like a barrier island that I'm looking at, which is really up in the panhandle.
It's kind of Floribama, like panhandle.
Yeah, Panama City, but almost Alabama.
Orange Beach, right? He's really out there on the panhandle.
Oh, geez, you're like as furthest away as you could be from where I live.
We don't recognize that as part of Florida. We don't.
Well, the whole point is to get out of your normal, area and get out of your comfort zone and do something a little different.
There it is, Floribama.
Get in your car or get on your plane, and
I think I should just rent like a tour bus or something, Jack, and we can put as many employees from GovSpend in there.
I just did that drive across 10. I literally left my home, drove to Texas, and I literally went right by there. So I'm in. I'm practically a local at that point in Florida. That's easy. So I know you just wrapped up the Surf and Sales Summit, right? The most recent one. So can you tell folks about that? I know you pinged on it, but down there, you mentioned you were there 3+ weeks. The group is there for how long? And
I was there for most of November, and the Surf and Sales events themselves are a week long. So we have one cohort of 20 come through, and we do a bunch of sales content and sales leadership content, and we hire locals to give people surf lessons and cook food for us and clean up after us and all that kind of good stuff. And then the first cohort leaves, and the second cohort showed up, and we kind of run through the same thing. And we tailor the content a little bit based on who's attending. Is it, more of an AE kind of guest list, or is it more VP and CEO kind of guest list? And so keep it interesting, do some fun, like mini competitions in the group, and it just becomes a nice big alumni network. You got people selling to each other, you got people hiring each other, you got people supporting each other in their endeavors and business plans and things like that. And it's a good little micro community, right?
How long, when someone signs up, how long, you mentioned, I think there was two cohorts in that time you were there. How long are they, you sign up for one, how long are they there in the sessions?
5 days.
5 days.
5 days apiece. Yeah.
And you would say, I've definitely seen the link of it on the website. When folks think about attending, right? I know you mentioned the next 1 or 2 are sold out. You would sell it to them, like folks would go, ones that are what? When they are thinking about, hey, I'm at this point in my career, when does surf and sales fit in as a great item for them to do?
Well, one of the beautiful things about the event is that there's a lot of diversity in the role. So it's not like all SDRs or all VPs or something like that. You're intermingled with everybody. Yeah. So you got SDRs and AEs who are junior in their career spending a week with executives.
Yeah,
and you got executives who haven't spent time with their frontline staff in a decade, who are suddenly around them every day for a week and listening and learning and interacting and whatnot. So there's just tons of kind of holistic learning, going on. And so I think it's really for people who want to kind of combine learning with a little bit of a vacation. Yeah. People who are tired of going to typical sales conferences where there's, 20,000 people and you're scanning your badge everywhere and you meet all these people, but you didn't really get to know anybody. Yeah. It's the opposite of that, right? I mean, you go spend a week with a bunch of kind of like-minded people who want to get out of, the norm and go to a cool place like Costa Rica and try something new like surfing. There's intimacy and a level of bonding there that you can't replicate at the convention center in fucking St. Louis. Yeah, it's just not going to happen, right? And so it's for that kind of person, that kind of personality, who prefers smaller kind of crowds. So
that's so great. Yeah, mix in the beach. Yeah, like I picture some CEO gonna be like, "What's TikTok? What's show me?" You know what I mean? Like, what is that? I've heard TikTok. Like, they're like, "What is that? Show me the video." That'd be so funny. So crazy. That's awesome. And in Costa Rica, right?
In Costa Rica, yeah, Playa Grande, Costa Rica, which is just north of Tamarindo. It's on the northwest Pacific Ocean side of the country.
So great. Yeah, and we want to transition into kind of goal setting, which is the thing we're doing. But before we do that, I want to do one other thing. For the show, I know we're talking about your consulting firm exploding, and you actually bring on another person and kind of. So can you share, folks, what your firm does, what it focuses on, and kind of its growth as well? And
yeah, I primarily focus on helping early stage startups kind of go from 0 to 25 million or so. And it's the same kind of challenge. You're in like seed stage, maybe Series A, and you got some founder-led sales, but you don't really know how to go from where you are now to this scalable kind of systemic sales motion where you can get things that are in your head and transfer them over to people who are brand new to the organization. So I work with them and build out a whole sales playbook and work on the messaging and the approach and what data we need to track and what tools we need and how to hire. I have a massive network on LinkedIn and as well as these revenue communities that I run. And so I kind of bundle in recruiting services. I help them hire their first VP of sales, their first couple of sales reps, their first sales ops person. And then towards the back end of the engagement, I do a lot of coaching and training and development and stuff like that. And all throughout, we're talking shop and strategy and different initiatives like, how do we raise our ASP? How do we shrink our onboarding and ramp time? How do we increase our net revenue retention? All this kind of stuff. And so been doing that full time for a number of years now, 2 years, a little over 2 years now. And I think I've got 6 unicorns under my belt now that I've worked with and had a couple nice exits and good companies and good logos, and just hired somebody who shall remain nameless for another week and a half or so until January 1st when she joins me full time, and I kind of increased my capacity in terms of how many clients I could take on at once.
Yeah, that's when you talk about that. When folks, because one of the things we get into is going into the next year, a lot of folks looking at, hey, should I do some entrepreneurial, growing my business? Should I stay where I am? When you think about adding someone, right, how are they kind of like you junior or you two, Scott Leese 2.0? What are you thinking? Like, how do you get them to help scale your business, right? What's your thought process? You're like, well, I'm going to add a person after a while now. And how do I get them to add value and be super functional in your organization? What's your thought process?
Yeah. I have three specific things. The first thing to me was the most important. I have no desire to hire somebody if I can't 3 to 5x their income, period. I'm not trying to hire somebody and pay them what you're already earning or whatever your current market rate is.
That's so good.
If I'm hiring you, you're going to make $500,000 or more this year, period. Awesome. And I did not want to hire somebody until I felt confident that would be the case, both in terms of the large base salary and, bonus structure and commission structure and that kind of thing. So that was very important to me. I didn't want to go to anybody and say, hey, I'll pay you 110 grand. No, I'm not here for that. You could do that somewhere else. So that was number one. Yep. Number two is they need to be experienced in the things that I do, meaning they have to have been around early stage startups as a seller, as a sales leader, as a sales ops leader, as a VP. They have to know how to coach to the same things that I can coach to. So I'm not trying to hire a salesperson to help me go find deals.
Yeah.
My inbound flow is more than I can handle. I'm blessed in the sense that I don't have to outbounce. I don't need somebody to close deals for me. I just need somebody to fulfill. I just need somebody to execute, somebody to teach the things that I teach. And the third criteria was, where are they better than me? And can I hire somebody who complements me and is better than me than one particular area? Yeah. And I know exactly, in my mind who the right person was for that. And so I went after them and I got them, and I'm very excited about what we'll be able to do together. But it's also, it's scary when you hire your first full-time employee and, their family is you're responsible for their family and you're paying health benefits and insurance and all this kind of stuff. So it's a bit scary, but I feel like I'm ready for it. And I'm not going to move too fast and suddenly hire a team of 10, right? Going back to my principle number one, I'm only hiring one person more at a time when I'm very confident that I can pay them like a very, serious compensation package.
That's
so
awesome.
That was my criteria.
That's awesome. Listen, you don't know that setup like Stevie saw Steven's spot. Steve was our first employee, so that we lived that personally.
I think I worked for free in the beginning. There was no big salary. I think I was at 1099. Like there wasn't even a W-2 set up, but it was like the idea.
2012, November 26, 2012. Stevens. Before that, we were joking around. We're like, we got real employees coming here Monday. This has to look legit.
It's going back. Going back nine years ago. But Scott, I've been following you. You are the man, and just to hear you talk like that, and really care about building your company is the same way you coach startups. The one thing that I was going to ask is, when you consult, you mentioned 0 to 25 million. But I watched some of your videos online, and there was something that you talked about as far as helping out employees negotiate equity or I don't know, options, how it's all phrased, and some magic that the kids are, younger folks, I feel like I'm 40 right now, so I'm getting older, but there's younger people that are kind of led into this world where they think, all right, I'm going to be a millionaire. And your ability to look at those contracts and really know what they mean and interpret them in a way that you can explain it to the folks joining those startups. Is that ever something that you thought about as far as offering as a consulting service as well?
No, not in terms of offering it as part of the service. I mean, honestly, Steve, I sort of see that as just part of my role in the community as somebody who is here if you have questions about something, like people message me on LinkedIn and say, hey, Scott, I got this offer. I'm an AE. They're offering me 2,000 shares on a 4-year vest. Is that good? Is that bad? What does it mean? Right. And, I'm happy to answer those kind of questions. And I answer those questions on Thursday Night Sales, and I answer them in Costa Rica. And, I talk about it in different shows and podcasts and whatnot. So it's not something to me that is that I'm interested in like monetizing. This is knowledge that everybody should have.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of people don't know anything about it, and their employers don't teach them anything about it. And the game kind of stays rigged, and the people at the top, you know, win the most. So I'm not really trying to gate that and make income from it, even though there's probably some of that, you know, opportunity to build a course around Startup Equity 101 and stuff like that. I'll let somebody else do that. And for me, you know, I'll just try to be helpful whenever I can.
Perfect. Yeah, just the way you spoke so open about it, and you're just blunt and honest. And I think there's people joining startups, and I'm like,
they do. I mean, people get sold a bill of goods. You know, look, I can think of one particular case where this sales rep had 1,000 shares on a 4-year vest, and she had been told that like she's going to be a millionaire. And so I just started walking through the math with her, that those 1,000 shares have to be worth X amount upon exit in order for that to be worth $1 million. That's before taxes, let alone after taxes. Plus you got to come up with the money to exercise them. And people just don't know and think about all that stuff, you know? And she had this moment where she was like, oh, wow. You know, because 1,000 shares, you know, a really good run at a startup would be a $10 per share exit. Well, if you got 1,000 shares, you just made 10 grand. I don't even think you could buy a Nissan Leaf for 10 grand, right? Like you're not really doing much except paying down some student loans, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe an electric bicycle. I think they're very hot right now.
Those posts about, you know, kind of equity and how it all works, always on LinkedIn get a ton of feedback. And then I'm sure you've all seen, like, when you see some of those articles about the, you know, the guys that started Twitter, you know, and the first guy left, you know, the original president left, and with almost nothing. And that's what hurts when you see some of those people that left early and you're like, oh, geez. It's like everyone else was a billionaire. And then that person, you know, early days of Apple, we've all seen that, you know, those stories are just like, oh, please.
You never really know, you know, but I think the key is for people to be as informed as possible. Yeah. And that's what, you know, part of the goal is in kind of having some of these conversations that people can go back and reference. And just kind of talking about things so they don't remain in the dark and in the shadows, you know? Yeah.
It's so painful. My mom used to, quick sidebar, my mom used to give away scratch lottery tickets. And the other day, some guy won $4 million on somebody gave it to him. Imagine if you had it in your hand, you're like, yep, just gave my mailman $4 million. You're like, oh no. But hey, so the series we're doing really is about goal setting. So I tried to hunt Scott down. He was getting ready to go, you know, start surfing sales, head to Costa Rica. I was like, listen, we're gonna do a series of shows. And as Steve and Brian just mentioned, like you, obviously one of the leaders in LinkedIn, touching a lot of people. And really, as our staff started talking about shows at the end of the year, there were really 4 dynamics driving why 2022 is gonna be super big for folks. God willing, those being finally COVID winding down, please, right? Then the work from home that COVID started, hey, a lot of companies dealing with, are we going back in the office? Hybrid? Are we going to allow folks to stay at home, and folks feeling, you know, certain ways about each one of those opportunities, which have a big impact for next year? It's obviously an employee's market, right? Like employees now have opportunities. Everyone's getting pinged. Companies are hiring. And so now it's like, oh, I have this opportunity. Should I take it? And then lastly, right, there's obviously some uncertainty about the economy, right? With all the supply chain and Biden being a little dementia filled, and we just don't know what's coming. And so those 4 dynamics, as we talked about it internally, we're like, man, what people do in 2022 could have an effect on them for multiple years. And so then we went back to our best guests and said, hey, we'd love to have you on and just talk about, you know, when you think about 2022 and goals for 2022 and goal planning, what does that look like? And so that's really been the focus of our last 6 or 7 shows. And so blessed to have Scott on today. So I served that up to you, Scott, first, of like, when you are thinking about 2022, like any general thoughts as you think about the world of LinkedIn? Folks are trying to balance all these competing things and things that you feel you're hearing that are important, and the way you're thinking about it, maybe folks should be thinking about next year.
Yeah, I get a lot of thoughts on this, depending on what direction you want to go. But I said the other day that 2020 was like the year of awakening. And the awakening was, oh, shit, we can work remotely.
Amen.
Oh, shit, I can have different work-life balance than I thought. oh shit, I can create and have side hustle and make money in other ways. And then 2021 has been, as people have framed it, the year of the great resignation. You got people requiring in droves. The market's insane. People in sales are getting 20 to 30% raises. Roll inflation. You got SDRs who used to make 50K, who now make 75K, who have no experience, things like that.
Yeah.
So people are flipping around, and there's this turnover, and there's this power dynamic change where the shift has gone from employer to employee.
Yeah.
So to me, 2022 now becomes the year of empowerment. It's the year where all these people who have woken up and who have quit and seized control are taking advantage and kind of pushing the pedal to the metal and saying, I'm in charge. This is my year. I'm going big. I don't have to play the game the way it used to be played anymore. So you got a lot of people who started their own businesses. You got a lot of solopreneurs. You got a lot of micro kind of entrepreneurs with small teams. You got creator economy stuff where people are monetizing their influence and things like that. So I see people leaning more heavily in. I don't see a kind of bounce back or revert towards kind of the norm.
Yeah.
I think the employees are going to continue to kind of buck the trend. And I think employers are in for, a rude awakening, if you will, because I think people feel empowered now in a way that they've never felt before. And they're willing to speak out about it in a way that they've never been willing to do, because they're not worried about the blowback anymore. Because they think, what the fuck are you going to do? Fire me? Whatever. I'm making 10 grand a month on the side on my own, pushing this course that I created. What do I care if you fire me? You do me a favor, right? Yeah. Or they're gonna be like, what do you mean I can't work remote? You're trying to force me into the office in downtown Houston? Yeah, I don't think so. Not gonna happen. I'm taking a different gig. So I think that is coming. And I think therefore a lot of people, myself included, have made a big bet for 2022. And our goals, are larger than they've ever been. And I think kind of recognizing, wow, this rarefied air is actually a place that I can get to.
Yeah.
And I've scratched and sniffed it a little bit. And, it used to be crazy maybe for somebody to say, I want to make $1 million this year. Well, after you've blown past that already, you're like, I wonder if I can make 5. That sounds outrageous. Like $5 million a year. Like, what am I, a fucking middle reliever for the San Francisco Giants? Like, that's crazy. That's crazy money, right? But all of a sudden, well, there's a path there. You got somebody who's a VP of sales. They've written or created a couple of pieces of content. They make a few $1,000 there every single month. They've got a side business doing events like I do, or doing some kind of trainings or things like that they get paid from. Maybe they have real estate income. Maybe they got Bitcoin income. Maybe they got investment. They got all these different things, right?
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden you got people who are saying, $100,000, like that used to be a big deal. Can I make 6 figures in sales? Now you got people who are like, $250,000 feels kind of low. I think I could do better than that.
Yeah.
And so I think people are dreaming bigger.
Yeah.
And I think that's all contributing to this kind of year of empowerment coming, as I see it, and big bets.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And I agree with you. I think a lot of people are taking leaps or chances. You get the wake up call where life can be what you want it to be. And stop pointing at me. But no, it just resonates at home. I just went through this whole self-discovery process, and Jack knows that very well. I've been open with him during this transition, and just to be blessed during this time to work for a company that's based in California, in the Bay Area, and be here in Florida, and pursue that where that option didn't exist prior to 2020.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing you, and I feel like there is going to be a day of reckoning, because, and I'm one of the most positive people you'll ever meet. Like Jack knows that, and I love how you said, I just want to help people for free if they need help with those processes when it came to the options and everything. But for the companies that are out there and they're taking that leap with no guidance, right? You have that experience, the path, the charge, but people that are just kind of taking that leap, is there any advice that you could give to someone that would just be make sure you're going down this path, because if they're gambling with their mortgage and, they have a spouse and they can't pay the bills, like life can turn upside down really quick. And I think it's awesome to have all those things going on. But, I guess what would be like a 1 or 2 takeaways that you could just set people up so they don't put themselves in a financial position where they've risked it all and now they're in the poorhouse and really
I think some of it is a stage of life. I mean, if you're young and unencumbered, take a big hack. If you are older like we are and have families and responsibilities, like you better be smart about it.
Yeah.
One of the things that worries me is the volume of people jumping in and positing themselves as experts and trainers and coaches and all that kind of stuff. And they've got like a year and a half of experience.
Right.
That worries me a lot, because the day of reckoning, as you called it, it will come. And those people are liable to have a little bit of trouble when business starts to dry up and money starts to get a little tighter. But what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Those people will just have to go find a job again.
Yeah.
So they might as well get while the getting's good, if you will. And I know that's why they're doing it. But I think, there's still something to be said for becoming an expert in whatever your discipline is, and then doing it multiple times over. Because when you do finally cut the cord and go out on your own, you've just got so much more experience, such a larger network and support system, hopefully a little bit larger nest egg in case things go squirrely or go south on you a little bit. So you're de-risking the kind of entrepreneurial leap, right?
Back in the day, people had to like take this big leap, put all their credit cards in debt, but you don't have to do that now, right?
You don't have to do that anymore.
Right. All the side hustles, like don't do it the old school way, right?
You don't have to do it that way anymore. Listen, the way that I did it was, here's my income from being an SVP of sales. Okay. And I recognize, like, I don't want to be an SVP of sales forever. I want to work for myself. I got to cut the cord, but I got a family and I got health troubles and things like that. Like, it's a little risky for me to just go from zero to, now I'm on my own. So I said, let me do this with all these side hustles and different ideas. And if I can bring this side hustle income up to where all of a sudden it matches my W-2, now I don't need this W-2 anymore.
That's it.
Right. And I'm not starting at ground zero. I'm starting my drive at the 40-yard line, so to speak, right? Rather than on my own 5, right? And so I think I would like to see more people operate that way I saw somebody's profile on LinkedIn the other day. They were an SDR for 8 months. They were an AE for 10 months. They quit their job. They formed their own coaching and consulting company, Scott LLC. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, who's hiring you? You have no experience. You've never even done well in the roles that you've had. Like, I don't understand, And so that's a bit of a like short-term view for me for that particular person. Because you might be able to go out there on your own and make 75 to 100 grand, but like, why?
Yeah.
Why would I want to go work on my own to make 75 to 100K? If I'm going to go work on my own, like I'm getting 7 figures plus.
Yeah.
And so I had a longer kind of mindset about it. And I think more people should think that way,
Yeah.
Everyone hears about the multiple streams, but today the entrepreneurial world is so different with the internet and all the little side hustles. Even people that just Uber, whatever. There's such a way to set up all the side things where you don't have to jump off the freaking cliff. And people, when we were young, they're like, gotta max it on. You're like, no, don't do that anymore. So, hey, when we started, you mentioned, hey, there's a couple different avenues you'd want to go down. I'd love to hear about those, and I'd love to hear about like when you think about goals. But your average, whatever. 25 to 40-year-old, been in business, had some success, not had their big payday yet. What is your advice to them? How do you help them set goals, think about next year? I agree. I think next year is going to be such an amazing, impactful year for people. What advice do you have for folks, as they start thinking about it and setting their own goals and how it plays out?
Well, I think too many people set a big goal and leave the big goal there on its own. And you sit there and stare at it and it becomes intimidating and you can't figure out the path and how to get there. So what you need to do is break it into a bunch of micro goals, you need to chunk it up. So, let's say you're trying to lose 100 pounds this year, for example. Yeah. I think a lot of people look at that goal of losing 100 pounds and they don't feel and see the immediate success, and they get overwhelmed and they just say, fuck it, like it's too hard. Whereas if you're just like, I'm going to try to lose 2 pounds a month, this micro goal, that's it. Like that feels attainable to me.
Yeah.
And then when I hit that in January, I get a little dopamine hit because I just won. And winning begets winning.
Yeah.
And as you win, you build momentum. And that momentum reinforces the behavior.
Unless you're in the NFL. Okay. I'm going to let that go, but it's okay.
Well, it's so funny that, Scott, you pulled out 2 pounds. I'm going through David Goggins right now, and that's what he did. He's like, if you lose 40 pounds, he's like, you're right, 2 pounds on a Post-it note, put it on the mirror. He's like, don't put it in your digital device. Write that crap down, put it up where you can see it, and you live it. And then when you feel that 2 pounds, you're successful. Then you put up 2 pounds again next week.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in writing things out. The writing of it rather than the typing of it actually cements the learning in your nervous system a little stronger. I have a master's degree in learning theory, so this is shit that I studied way back in the day. I'm a big believer in keeping the goals right in front of you. I used to tape them on my desk back in the day. Then for a while, I had it on my bathroom mirror. Then I can remember having it on my steering column. Now it sits right here and I stare at it all day long. And I'm kind of just waiting till, when I can cross something off.
Well, what was it? When you were, can you help people when you were, listen, you've had so much success. I know you make great money. What was it? Like, can you share 1 or 2 of the things you had, when you were like 26? I'll tell you right now. 26.
I'll read you off the things that I failed to do so far this year. Let me find this. Here it is right here.
You mind sharing how old are you now?
I'm 44.
44, great.
I started my career at 27. I got sick at 23, spent 4 years in the hospital. Never got started until I was 27 years old. I'm 44 right now. Okay, so here's some of the things that I failed to do that I wrote down. I need a new attic fan. I needed to replace my dock at my lake house. I needed to replace the deck, the upper deck part. I had a investment goal that I didn't quite hit. I had an exercise goal that I didn't quite hit. There's a bunch of things that I did hit though. And so my list is littered with all these things. And as you cross things off, like it feels good. I feel empowered. I don't expect to hit every single thing, but I'm trying and I push myself, to try to go get it. And at the end of every year, I kind of look back, holy shit, look at all the things I did. And that makes me feel good. And I see the things that I didn't quite get done. And I'm like, all right, well, can't win them all. Let me move those ones, if it still matters, into my 2022 goals. Yep. And I'll write that whole thing out.
Yep.
Right. And off I go again. I think you need to get really specific too. A goal is not, I want to make more money in 2022.
Yeah.
A goal is, I want to make $1 million in 2022. Steve, how much do you have to earn every single month to make $1 million? Do you know?
$100,000 a month.
No, $83,333.33.
Yeah.
So my point is, if you don't know the specifics, how the fuck are you going to get there?
I'm going to make 1.2 million.
When somebody said, I don't know that one, Steve, because that one wasn't my goal.
Yeah.
But it's if somebody wants to buy a new house, if I'm working with them, I say, okay, where?
Yeah.
And then they tell me, well, I want it to be in Magnolia outside of Houston. Okay. Well, how many bedrooms do you need? How many bathrooms? What size? Okay. What neighborhood in that town? How much does that cost? Okay. How much of a down payment do you have? So that means your monthly mortgage is going to be this.
Yep.
Okay. How many deals do you have to close every single month in order to get commission enough that you can pay off all your normal bills and have this money left over for that mortgage? And I kind of back my way into like, okay, here's how many calls you need to make in order to pay for that house in that neighborhood. So the more specific you are about things, the more real the goal becomes. The more real it becomes, the more likely you are to focus on it. If you focus on it enough, you're more likely to get it.
Listen, I love that. The 2 things are right. Being specific, because folks do general things like that. It's a mess. It's so different between I want to live on the intercoastal in Florida and I want to live in the mountains of Montana. They're totally different, right? That's super big. And then breaking it down into small weekly, monthly chunks so it doesn't become overwhelming. Because then even if you miss a month, you can get right back on the horse if you missed a month. If you miss your whole, you know what I mean? You miss a whole big thing. You're like, I'm throwing in the towel, right? And forget it. I'll never get there. Those breaking it down and being very specific are two huge components people talk about regularly, right? Big.
Yeah, I feel that too. One thing Jack did great. I remember this in the early days, Jack. I don't know if you remember it, but you brought in Angel Denker. She kind of like came in and the whole company sat down, Scott, and she went, not just business goals, because that's what you have, your work environment. They're like, you got to hit this number, demos, right? But they said, stop, figure out your personal goals, because that's really what motivates folks. And I remember writing down, get LASIK surgery. Something that I used to wear glasses. There was a picture of me in her office, and it was like a thing outside her CEO's office. And look, I don't wear glasses anymore. I hit my demos to get my deals, to pay. It was $5,000 to get the LASIK surgery. Yeah. And it's something I carry with me every day. Like I can see now without glasses, and I pay that off to just writing it down, figuring out how to get there and making it real.
That's exactly what every leader should do. They should have that conversation with all of their people. Know exactly that Steve wants LASIK surgery, that Jack needs a house in Houston. And part of the work that I do specifically with each person is to help you achieve your goal. And every day it's like, what can I do to help you be better today? What can I do to remove an obstacle out of your way so it's easier for you to hit your goal today? And it's more about that than managing to metrics or managing to the pipeline and the deal flow and all that kind of stuff, right? That stuff tends to take care of itself a little more when you focus on helping the person.
Yeah. Angel started our whole goal series, Steve. So she was on a couple weeks ago. Folks want to go watch it. Angel Denker, I think 3-4 weeks ago. So it was great.
Cool.
Scott, when you think about next year's, what we wrap up, best advice, best things you see, opportunities, right? Again, I think my concern, reason we started this series, you have somebody that's doing well. They're 27, 28, 29, 32. They're doing well, right? Working their way up. And now they're inundated with LinkedIn requests. Oh, we have a new job for you, more money, And they don't know how to process it. They don't know how to have it be a real opportunity. They just see the money, or it's just different. So difference always better. There's no, grass is green over there. What's your best model advice you give to folks as new things are popping up, new opportunities? What best advice?
Best advice I have is this 3-step framework called learned, earned, and burned. I'll walk you through it. So as people are getting inundated with job requests and people are throwing new shiny nickels your way, you got to pause for a second and ask yourself, have I learned everything there is for me to learn in this role? Am I a total master at whatever this role is? There's really nothing else for me to learn. Okay. Could I be better? Sure. Maybe a little bit, but do I know how to be a VP of sales at an early stage startup? Yeah, I know how to do that. There's nothing really left for me to learn there. Right. Okay. So that's one of the check marks. Now I move to the next thing. It's earned. Have I earned everything I can earn in this particular role? Have I maxed out the comp plan? Are there no other promotions left in the career path where I'm at? There's literally no other way for me to make more money at this particular job. So I've earned everything that I can. If I have, boom, check that one off. Then we come to burned. Burned means, am I being wronged? Am I being burned by my boss or the company that I'm working with? Am I being mistreated? Am I being abused or taken advantage of? Am I being denied opportunities and promotions? Is there bias going on, right? Have they wronged me in some way? If none of those 3 things have happened or are happening, you don't need to take the call. You don't need to see what else is going on out there, because presumably you're pretty damn happy. If one of those 3 things is going on, maybe you're kind of passively going to be open to a conversation. If 2 of those things is going on, you're probably a little more proactive about it. And you're probably saying yes to everything that comes your way because you want to learn. If all 3 of those things are going on, you need to get the fuck out of there. But learned, earned, and burned.
I love that. Learned, earned, and burned. Got it. Leb. Got it. I want to do how all the ways folks can contact you, but any last things when you mentioned we started, hey, I got a bunch of things. Any other things that strike your chord you want to make sure that you'd share with folks about 2022, hot trends you see, any general advice you give to folks?
I think there's never been an easier time to learn and get more information. Whether it's podcasts and great shows like this, obviously there's books you can read and stuff like that. But one of the things that you need to do if you're in a sales or leadership role now is you need to immerse yourself in different revenue and micro communities that are out there. You need to find, your group of people that you can bounce ideas off of. Slack groups, mastermind groups, things like that. I mean, I run multiple revenue communities that have thousands of people in them now from around the world. That's where people find jobs. That's where people get answers to questions that they don't know how to solve, and they get it done in real time. That's where deal flow can come from. That's where, new recruits and new roles and information about stuff comes from. And so just not participating in that is stupid.
Yeah.
Straight up. It's stupid. And it shows a lack of initiative and would tell me as a hiring manager, I don't know, Jack, you're not really keeping up with modern sales tactics here, and you're not trying to immerse yourself in the community. So I don't really know if you're the right guy for the job. That's what I would be thinking. Yeah. And the next point that I'll say, and then I'll stop and I'll shut up, but it's, it's no longer optional to have a personal brand. You have a personal brand, whether you know it or not. Your brand just might be total shit, and you might be non-existent, but you have one. So you better take control of it, and you better do something about it, and you better work hard to, give more than you ask for and more than you receive. And that's how deals are going to come your way. That's how relationships are going to form. That's how jobs are going to come your way. And it's becoming more and more important. And that's how you're going to eventually leverage side hustles and different entrepreneurial things that you might want to do as you round out your whole, life.
Yeah, I think it's so important to use resources and things that are out there. And because most mentors, somebody's already been where you want to go, right? When folks do that, when you mentioned earlier, so when folks have clarified, I want to be here, somebody's already been there. You don't have to relearn. You don't have to relearn it. Somebody's already going down that path and connect with them. LinkedIn is amazing, or all the social media. You can get to people, right? Hey, Bob's already gone down this way. Sally's already done that. Hunt them down and walk in their footsteps and make them a mentor. Whatever you have to do, buy coffee, find them. Whatever you got to do, make them happen. So important.
I remember when I was a teenager, I had a book. It was Wisdom of a Young CEO. And this is before the internet. Like, I was growing up during the AOL startup days.
We all were.
The audience, Jack. I'm talking to the people, the masses that are tuning in. So this kid, young 13-year-old, same age as me, was writing notes to CEOs, GE, Ford, didn't matter what company. And they actually took the time to write back letters, like how you're saying, find someone that's done or that's achieved what you want. And he actually got these letters back, and he published them all in the book and he's like, this is the advice that I took away. And people are just, I don't know, like, they don't think these people are going to write back, but now it's so easy to get people through DMs or however you communicate or LinkedIn.
Bob Goff? Bob Goff does that too. His kids did that. His kids sent letters to world leaders, and he has a book where, kind of world leaders wrote back to her, some of their staff.
If world leaders and CEOs are taking time, like, no matter if it's a VP or, if you're SDR, you want to become an AE, like, reach out to other AEs. I love that advice. Got it. Unfortunately, I do have to jump. One of my other goals was to get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in South Florida, which I had in my wallet crumpled up for about 5 years. And
there you are.
Officially coming true, going to get the keys and moving in right now, 5 o'clock. Going to be inside. So,
amen. Take Mia with you.
She's going to be staying, holding the house down for now.
God bless.
The official move is Saturday, but I get the keys today, so feels good.
Thank you so much. Great to see you. Happy holidays, Steve.
Thank you.
Scott, how do folks? Can you give all the folks the ways to ping you, find you, follow you, all the Thursday night, can you give them all the links? I think our staff will queue them up underneath you as well.
Yeah. The easiest way to get in touch with me is just message me on LinkedIn. I'm super active. I respond to everybody who DMs me. I try to respond to a lot of people who comment on the content that I create. Every Thursday night, other than the holidays, I host Thursday Night Sales. It's a free virtual sales happy hour. This Thursday, we're having our ugly sweater Christmas party. There'll probably be 125 to 150 people on there. And you can ask questions of me and my co-host Amy Volas and hang out and have some fun and have a drink and laugh and have a good time on Thursday nights. And check out surfandsales.com if you want to come to Costa Rica in November of next year. There's still a few spots left, and do something a little different on the sales conference circuit. You can find me there, and I host a podcast, Surf and Sales Podcast, where I talk to sales and revenue leaders from all across the world. And check that out if you're looking for more content and information as well.
Well, you're amazing. I cannot thank you enough for coming on, and appreciate all your time. Follow your success. What you're doing, especially in the startup community, is amazing. Totally appreciate your time and energy. Any last gold nugget you want to share with folks before we let you dip out and disappear for the holidays?
No, other than I'll see you next year, because our holiday tradition now, I think, is I come on the GovCast show and hang out with you, Jack, and always have a good time, man.
And hopefully, listen, maybe in LA, or I guess not, it would be AFC Championship. I don't know. Maybe we could cross paths. Maybe football.
Maybe one day when the schedule comes out, we'll take a look.
All right, brother. All right. Well, God bless. Have a great holiday. Appreciate your time and energy. Thank you so much. Have a great holiday season. All right. Be good.
You too. Bye.
Talk to you soon. Yes. Listen, if you're not following Scott Leese, you should. He is an amazing resource. You see, he offers his time and energy, and some of the questions Steven asked about, particularly in that startup world, about equity and options, and how much is it really worth, and should how much do you offset maybe some of your earnings for some of the equity piece, and what's that look like, and the logistics and the what's all the worth is amazing. Scott's been super open and can share with you in that. And then he's doing, if you go through his LinkedIn profile, amazing. He's involved in so many companies and just a great resource. And listen, I'll let you all go, but I just want to encourage you. I mean, really, this 2022 is going to be an amazing opportunity or challenge for a lot of people. And so just encourage you, if you've never done it, we've all heard, make SMART goals and write them down and put them in front of you. And I think most people don't do it. I think they don't do it. They hear about it and they're like, I don't want to do it. But listen, next year, all these variables with COVID and opportunities and things are presented to you on LinkedIn, and then what's the economy going to happen? Are we going to go up? Or are we going to go down? Please. If you've never done it, take a little time over the holidays between maybe Christmas and New Year's, what have you, and write down some things you want to get done. Make them bite-sized, week by week, month by month. Write them down so you see them all the time. And then find a mentor. Find somebody smart, somebody that's been down that road, somebody who's already where you want to go. Try to suck them into your universe. And so have them help you get down the path so you don't have to burn yourself on the stove. All the lessons have been learned, and maybe you can use somebody else to help teach you. Surf and Sales being one of those, that opportunity to kind of network with folks, make that happen. Amen? So listen, appreciate everyone's time. Thank you, Scott Leese. You're amazing. We'll see you next week. We're going to have this show. Brenda Miller, she's amazing on LinkedIn, one of the top LinkedIn experts, to wrap up the year and wrap up this series on goal setting. See you next Wednesday at noon. We're out of here.